As you can see right next to me, we got two electric guitars. 2015 Gibson Les Paul Jr. 100th anniversary model with a tobacco burst finish. But today, the guitar I will review is this guitar right here. This is a 1997 Gibson Melody Maker, a Melody Maker. The reason why I brought this guitar out, the Les Paul Jr., I'll get into that in a little bit. The last owner, he said he's owned this for a good while. He wasn't the original owner, and he kept everything all stock, all original, except for one tuner that fell off on the back. So he replaced it with a Ovation tuner, but he told me that the Ovation tuner, it didn't need any extra holes, so he didn't have to drill an extra hole or anything. He also told me that this guitar was signed by someone named Travis Tritt or Travis Trott, and he was talking about, you know, oh, he's a great country guitarist or something like that. You know, I just basically told him, I was like, dude, to be honest, I don't even know who this dude is. I actually went home and searched up his name, and apparently, I mean, he has a Wikipedia page, so I'm assuming he's somewhat popular, but you know, I've never heard of the man. I don't know who he is, and to be honest, I don't care what signature it is, it just doesn't put any value to me. So for me, the reason why I got this guitar was just for the guitar, not for the autograph or, you know, Travis Tritt name or whatever. So for those of you guys who aren't too familiar with the Gibson Melody Maker, it's a pretty old guitar. I forget the exact year. I believe the 50s. Maybe the 60s, but basically Gibson released the Melody Maker line to make a more affordable series of Gibson guitars, because, you know, Gibson guitars in general are pretty expensive. You know, there was like the Gibson Les Paul, the Gibson Les Paul Custom, you know, those guitars are very expensive. So in order for Gibson to appeal to the mass market, the more affordable line, they released the Melody Maker series, which is basically a very stripped down guitar of a Gibson. So right off the bat, when I got this guitar, my first impression was it's a pretty light guitar. I wouldn't say it's, you know, the lightest guitar I've ever held, but you know, this is maybe six and a half, maybe 7 pounds. It's definitely not a heavy guitar, you know, but even though it's light, I'd say that the construction is not bad at all. It's definitely not the standard Gibson type build that you feel. So for example, if you're holding like a Les Paul Custom, it's not the same build quality, but you know, for an affordable line of Gibson guitars, I feel like they tried to do the best with the budget that they had. So the reason why I brought out this Gibson Les Paul Jr. is because the build and design is somewhat similar, I think. You know, to me, it looks very similar. The body design is a pretty similar build. Just from the sides, the Melody Maker is a lot thinner. I mean, it's not a lot thinner, but it is thinner than the Les Paul Jr. Both have 2 knobs, 1 tone and 1 master volume, no toggle switch, 1 pickup. This has a humbucker, this has a P90. Basically, both are very stripped down guitars. It's a very simple and basic guitar. So the biggest difference to me from a Gibson Melody Maker and the other Gibsons in, you know, Gibson's lineup is probably the headstock design. This headstock design is very unusual. It's very unique. It says Gibson, but it's literally just flat. It's just straight, kind of like a skinny Martin, you know, minus the open butt headstock. If you see the Gibson Les Paul headstock design, this is the standard Gibson Les Paul headstock design. It's a little bit different. Actually, it's a lot different. It's a lot wider. The thickness is the same on the side, but it's mainly the design of the guitar headstock. And personally, I do not like this Melody Maker design. I don't know why they changed the headstock shape. I'm assuming to save money, to cut costs, but bro, the headstock is probably one of the most recognizable parts of a guitar. You know, some people I know buy a Gibson or a Fender just because of the headstock logo. And if you change the headstock logo completely, or the headstock design is just like, really, Gibson, just make it a normal headstock, you know. This neck profile is pretty interesting as well. I feel like for the entire guitar, the neck quality is probably the highest quality of this guitar. It feels much higher than the quality of the body. Body is not bad, but something tells me that this is not a solid wood or a high quality wood, because the neck just feels much sturdier and much heavier than the body itself. And you can kind of tell that by placing the guitar on your lap. And if the guitar falls down and has more weight, that obviously means it's heavier. And this is similar to kind of like an SG. A Gibson SG, it's really neck heavy. So, you know, if you place the guitar on your lap, the SG just falls down like this. The Melody Maker is not as severe as the SG in terms of the neck heaviness, but there definitely is more weight on this side than the body. So this makes me think that they did something with the wood to make it a lower cost, more affordable to produce. But since this is painted over, I honestly can't even tell what they did. You know, if you compare this guitar to, let's say, a Squier, or maybe even some Epiphones, like, it's just no comparison. When comparing the guitar within the Gibson lineup, that's when you can see the differences of quality and why the Melody Maker is a lot more cheaper. To be honest, I was debating if I should do a tone review, but this guitar is not set up properly at all. I was actually messing with the bridge and the saddle to, you know, kind of set it up. And I don't have much experience with Gibsons because I'm mainly a Fender player, so I completely screwed up on setting this up, and I have to figure out how to do it. Here, I'll show you how it sounds. It just does not sound good because it's not tuned at all. So I think a tone test, I'm just gonna set it up first and do a more professional version with a mic and whatnot. Like I said, just for what a guitar is supposed to be and do, it's a perfectly fine guitar. Compared to the other affordable guitars in the guitar world, this is probably one of the better ones. But within Gibson guitars, this is definitely the lowest model. So tone quality, honestly, you know, I can't give you an honest tone quality because even though I have played it, you know, I feel like it wouldn't be fair for me to judge the tone without letting you guys hear it. So tone quality, I can't say for sure now, but build, this is probably a 7.5 in terms of build. And when I grade and rank my guitars and give it a score, I always do it depending on the price point of the guitar. So for a Gibson brand name, around 700, 800 bucks used, this is definitely a 7.5, maybe even a 7.2. But it's a cool guitar to have. I mean, hey man, at the end of the day, it's still a Gibson, right?